The Vietnam War was about much more than Vietnam. It was a conflict deeply rooted in the global struggle between communism and democracy known as the Cold War. After World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers with very different ideologies. The United States promoted democracy and capitalism, while the Soviet Union championed communism, a system that sought to eliminate private property and create a classless society. These competing visions created a climate of suspicion and mistrust. The Vietnam War became a proxy war, a smaller conflict within the larger Cold War. The United States supported South Vietnam, a non-communist nation, against the communist North Vietnamese, backed by the Soviet Union and China. The war in Vietnam was seen as a crucial battleground in this global ideological conflict. A key reason for fearing communism's spread was the Domino Theory. This theory, popular among United States leaders, argued that if one nation fell to communism, its neighbors would follow suit. This was like a row of dominoes, where one falling would topple the rest. In the context of Southeast Asia, the fall of South Vietnam to communism was believed to inevitably lead to the fall of Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and beyond. This fear was fueled by the communist victory in China in 1949 and the Korean War, which ended in a stalemate, but with communist North Korea still in power. These events made the domino theory seem all too real to many in the United States government. Stopping communism in Vietnam, they believed, was vital to prevent its spread throughout Asia and potentially the world. The Cold War was a rivalry between not just the United States and the Soviet Union, but also between their respective alliances. The United States led the Western Bloc, which included Western Europe, Canada, and other nations. The Soviet Union led the Eastern Bloc, comprising mostly Eastern European countries under its control. China, while not directly controlled by Moscow, was a major communist power and a significant player in the Cold War. This rivalry extended beyond military matters. There was intense competition in technology, space exploration, and even sports. The United States and the Soviet Union constantly tried to outdo each other, each seeking to prove the superiority of its system and way of life. This constant tension created a global climate of fear and uncertainty. Adding to the fear of communism was the belief that communist movements around the world were not organic, but rather orchestrated by Moscow or Beijing. Any uprising or revolution that had communist leanings was seen as being manipulated by these larger communist powers. This fed into the idea that communism was not just a local or regional threat, but a coordinated global movement aimed at world domination. The reality, of course, was far more complex. While the Soviet Union and China did support communist movements in other countries, these movements often had their own local roots and motivations. However, the perception of a monolithic communist bloc pulling the strings of global revolution contributed significantly to the fear of communism during the Vietnam War era.